Anton's Last Dream. Anton's Last Dream by Edwin Baird. A brief tale of the dismal success of a scientist's experiment. Transcriber's note: this e-text was produced from Weird Tales, May 1937. Extensive research did not uncover any evidence that the U.S. copyright on this publication was renewed. Anything that man can dream, man can do. So believed Anton Slezak, the chemist. Man had dreamed of flying, Anton would argue, and now he flies across the 7 seas. He had dreamed of annihilating distance, and today he sends his voice round the world with the speed of light. He had dreamed of penetrating the mysteries of the universe, and now he sees trillions of miles into space. So argued Anton, the chemist. Anton had dreamed many dreams, and some had vanished mistily and some had become reality. But none was too fantastic for Anton's laboratory tests. Upon the chemist in his laboratory, Anton often said, rested the future development of mankind. And the future, Anton promised, would outshine the present as the present outshines the past. No poor dreamer was Anton. His dreams had brought him great riches. For he had turned his genius to practical matters, and, working miracles in his laboratory, had discovered ways of converting waste into things of commercial value, cornstalks into cloth, weeds into paper, coal soot into lacquer, and from these and other such discoveries Anton had derived much wealth. He had bought a magnificent home. He had married a young and lovely woman. He had a nephew who idolized him, and he had many friends and admirers and loyal assistants, and a truly beautiful wife, who, as anybody could plainly see, loved him devotedly. He had, indeed, one might have said, everything worth living for. And now, at the age of 52, he seemed on the threshold of still greater achievements. At the moment, however, Anton was employed in developing a dream, the fulfillment of which could have no practical value whatever. He knew that others had dreamed the same thing. They had put it in motion pictures, in pseudoscientific writing, in extravagant fiction. But it remained, as yet, merely a dream that nobody would believe. Anton was determined to make this dream come true. He brought to bear upon the task all the resources of his scientific mind, all his knowledge of physics and chemistry. He concentrated upon it day and night, experimenting, testing, trying first this, then that, and then discarding everything and starting all over again. He worked in secrecy, in his private laboratory. He told none of his corps of assistants about it, nor his wife, nor his nephew. He wanted nobody to know of this dream, until he was through with it. Then, if he succeeded, the whole world should know about it. And at last the day came when he knew he had succeeded. He was in his laboratory, that day, when his young and beautiful wife entered. She was an exquisite creature, vibrant with youth, aglow with health, athrob with the joy and zest of life. "Anton," she said, "you ought to get outdoors for a change of air. You've locked yourself in here for weeks, and you're looking ghastly." She anxiously regarded his scholarly face. Against his black Van Dyke beard, his skin was startlingly pale. Yet his eyes glowed with intellectual fire. "I know, my dear," he said, patting her shoulder, "but I've nearly finished now, and presently we shall celebrate, you and Robin and I, the triumph of my greatest experiment." Her long blue eyes surveyed the litter of test tubes and retorts. "What is this experiment, Anton?" "You will soon know, my dear. And it will astonish you. I promise you that. Now run along, like a good little girl, and enjoy yourself." His tone was paternal, and as they stood together they might well have been mistaken for father and daughter, he, tall and dark and somehow elderly, she, small and blonde and gloriously youthful. "I wish, Anton," she protested, "you wouldn't always treat me like a child. After all, you know, I am your wife. And I am proud of you, Anton. I like to be seen with you, and watch people point you out as a great celebrity, and let them know that you're my husband. So suppose you drop everything for this afternoon and go places with me. We could drive through the park, stop somewhere for a cocktail, go somewhere else for dinner, and then to a theater if you like, or to a night club." "No, my dear. But you and Robin go." She moved a disdainful shoulder. "Robin? It's only a bore, going places with Robin." She bit her lips, for at this moment Robin entered, an athletic young chap of sparkling eye, of suntanned skin and exuberant spirits. "Lo, Uncle Anton. How comes the great experiment?" "Most satisfactorily, my boy. It will soon be finished, and it will amaze you and Zora, and all the world." "Well, Anton," said Zora, "if I can't coax you outdoors, I'll be running along. I've some letters to write." "Wait, my dear." She paused at the door, her hand on the knob, and looked back at him. She ignored the younger man as she might have ignored a small boy. "Since you and Robin are to share in the success of my experiment," Anton beamed upon them, "it is only fitting that you should also share in its consummation." He walked to a cabinet, from which he took 2 pairs of white gauntlets. "First," he said, "you must put these on. And now," he added, when their hands were gloved, "take this material and dip it in here." From a shelf of the cabinet he had taken a large roll of white cloth, wrapped in cellophane, and from a white enameled vat he removed the lid, disclosing a milky fluid. He stood between them at the round vessel, giving instructions, while they immersed the cloth in the chalky liquid. "Be careful," he warned, "not to let it touch your clothing," and, with his pointed black beard and in his long white apron, he might have been some high priest standing beside a cauldron, instructing novices in a pagan ceremony. "That will do," he said, and covered the vat. "Now, your gloves." He removed their gauntlets and cast them into a metal container. "And is that all there is to it?" asked Zora. "That is all, my dear, until the 3 of us meet again. Then we shall commemorate what I am sure you will agree is the most astounding discovery in the history of chemistry. Meanwhile," she said, "I'll get at my letter writing." She kissed him fondly, spoke to the young man, in the condescending tone of one addressing a small child, and left the laboratory. As the door closed behind her, Anton turned to his nephew. A sudden change had come over him. "My boy," he said gravely, "there is something I must speak to you about." He paused, passing his long fingers across his wide brow, as if uncertain how to continue. "I wish, Robin," he said finally, in a hesitant voice, "you would try to be a little more considerate of Zora. You scarcely speak to her." The young man flushed beneath his tan. "But, Uncle Anton, I do try to be considerate of her. And you see how she treats me. As if I were a school kid. But she adores you, Uncle Anton. She thinks you're the greatest man in the world." "Does she, indeed?" murmured Anton, and a soft light shone in his deep-set eyes. "Well, it's pleasant to hear that. And now, Uncle Anton, if you don't mind, I think I'll run out to the Broadmoor Club and play a set or 2 of tennis." "Run right along, my boy, and play a set or 2 for me." Anton closed the door behind him, and locked and bolted it. Then he walked to the vat and lifted the cover. The entire contents of the vat had vanished. He gazed into the empty vessel, his fingers caressing his pointed beard, his eyes glowing with satisfaction. And now he did a number of strange things. First, he went to an alcove and wheeled out a full-length, triple mirror, which he adjusted in the center of the room. Then he removed all his clothing. And then he walked to the vat and began a weird pantomime. He reached inside as if drawing forth various garments, and, standing before the triple mirror, he went through the motions of putting them on. And as he made these motions he gradually disappeared, first, his legs, then his feet, then the upper part of his body, and finally, as he seemed to pull an elastic cap over his head and ears, only his hands and face were visible, and these had the eerie appearance of floating in space. Presently these, too, vanished as he brought forth a bowl of the milky fluid and bathed his face and hands in it, and soaked his eyeglasses and put them on. With that, Anton Slezak became completely invisible. His experiment was a success. His dream had come true. He had proved his belief that there are certain colors, or combinations of colors, that are invisible to human eyes, and he had also proved that by juggling and interchanging the molecules of certain dyes he could produce this invisible coloring. Careful to make no sound, he unlatched the door and walked through the outer laboratory, where his assistants were employed. He tested his invisibility on them, though he knew it needed no testing, and passed on to the street and started briskly downtown. Anton might have called upon his friends and, like a disembodied spirit, joined in their conversation and created who knows what havoc among them. But he did not visit the haunts of his friends. He visited the city's largest hotel. Here, again, he might have been an unseen spectator of loves and hates, and intrigues, and jealousies and exotic adventures, rich human drama on a cosmopolitan stage, had he so desired. But Anton had no such desire. He threaded his way through the hotel lobby, weaving in and out through the crowd, and went to one of the tower elevators and thence to the 49th floor. The elevator boy, answering a signal, opened the door, and Anton slipped ghostily out. Down the hall he went, straight to room 4901. He knocked on the door. A peculiar knock, 2 taps, a pause, then 3 taps. And almost instantly the door was opened. It was opened by his nephew, Robin. As Robin opened the door, his young face was alight with an eager expression, an expression that quickly changed to one of blank surprise. Puzzled, he stepped outside the door and looked up and down the corridor. And, since he left the door standing open, Anton crossed the threshold and walked inside the room. He moved to a corner near a deep-cushioned couch and stood there watching Robin. He watched him step back inside and close the door and look nervously about the room, his handsome features half comical with perplexity. Then he heard another knock at the door. It was the same knock that he had given, 2 taps, pause, 3 taps. He saw Robin open the door again and heard his low joyous cry, "Sweetheart." And then Anton saw his young and beautiful wife. He saw her in Robin's arms. He saw her arms around Robin. And he saw their lips and bodies meet and cling in rapturous embrace. Robin had closed and locked the door when she entered, and they stood there, now, for a long minute, kissing each other passionately. "Well, darling," she breathed. "A queer thing just happened, sweetheart, just before you came. Rather uncanny, too. I heard somebody knock, and when I opened the door nobody was there." She removed her hat and fluffed her pale gold hair. "Somebody had the wrong door, of course. Kiss me again, darling." He kissed her again. "But it was your knock, dearest." "Pure coincidence, my lamb." She tossed the hat on a table. "And not only that," said Robin, "but while I stood there, with the door open, I thought I heard, or felt, somebody move past me. It was like a ghost." She laughed throatily. "You are getting jittery, aren't you, darling?" "Just the same," he persisted, "I still have the feeling that somebody came inside this room." She looked about her happily, her long blue eyes humid with love. "Well, there's nobody here now, my precious, nobody except you and me. And that's all that matters, ever." She slipped his arm around her supple young body, and together they moved toward the couch. And as Anton watched them sink down upon it, and also sink, in mad abandon, into the purple abyss of passion, there visited his deep-set eyes the same soft expression they had known a while ago, when Robin had said to him, "But she adores you, Uncle Anton." He heard her say now, a disturbing note in her throaty voice, "Oh, Robin, I love you so. So much, my darling, it almost frightens me." "It frightens me, too, sometimes," said Robin, "when I think what might happen if Uncle Anton, Juno, Zora, I sometimes wonder if he doesn't suspect." She smiled dreamily into his eyes and kissed him lingeringly on the lips. "You funny boy. Why, he even thinks we hate each other." Robin also smiled, somewhat quizzically. "Only this afternoon he told me to be more considerate of you. But seriously, Zora, we can't go on this way indefinitely. He'll have to know, sometime. You'll have to get a divorce, or something." She closed his mouth with her kisses. For a space he was silent. Then, "I wonder what this new experiment of his is." "I don't care what it is," breathed Zora, her arms around his neck. "All I care about, darling, is you." "This afternoon," Robin went on, "he seemed to imply that all 3 of us," smiled Zora, "might celebrate tonight." And now Anton stood before them. He spoke purringly. "And so we shall, my dear," he said. Had the hotel walls caved in, the 2 lovers could have suffered no greater consternation. They sprang to their feet. They looked wildly about. They stared at each other in bewilderment. And all the while, Anton's voice purred softly on from his invisibility, "It is no use, my dear. You cannot see me. Nor will you ever see me again. Nor you, either, Robin, my boy. The experiment was a perfect success. Did I not say it would astound you?" Frantic with fear of they knew not what, both rushed for the door. But Anton got there first. And now they saw, suspended in midair, a revolver menacing them. Robin lunged for it desperately, but too late. The revolver spoke, once, and he sank to the floor. Zora screamed, her eyes widening with horror upon his twitching body. She clutched at her throat. She screamed again, insanely, and reached out for the door. Then the revolver spoke a second time, and she collapsed beside her lover. Anton knelt beside them and watched them die. They were an unconscionably long time about it, he thought. The telephone began ringing. That would be the management. Somebody, of course, had heard the shots and Zora's piercing screams. Anton, still kneeling beside their bodies, watched their blood flow together and stain the rug with a grotesque pattern. The telephone continued to ring. Suddenly there came a sharp knock at the door. That would be the house detective. Anton made sure they were both quite dead, and then he rose and crossed the room and sat down upon the couch. He had one shot left in his revolver. And, just as the door burst violently open, he sent it neatly through his heart. End of the Project Gutenberg ebook. Anton's Last Dream updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the General Terms of Use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works, by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. You agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Electronic Works 1.a. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying, or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e. Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg license as specified in paragraph 1.1. 1.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg works unless you comply with paragraph 1.8 or 1.9. 1.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg works. 1.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects, such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2. Limited warranty. Disclaimer of damages except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs, and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you ASIS, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion, and distribution of Project Gutenberg electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs, and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg. Project Gutenberg is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged, and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see Sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a nonprofit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's EIN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84116-801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact. Section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment, including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork, and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments, and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg Electronic Works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the U.S. unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.